So yesterday we were discussing about the extension controller, right? What is the extension controller? Extension controller are an Apex class containing the constructor to extend the standard controller functionality. And yesterday we have implemented this logic, right? The save button. Am I right? The save button of the standard account.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now in this calculation, I'm going to include the custom component where we do not need any help from the standard component. That means totally a custom. Now inside this, let me include Apex colon page block section item. And then we have a output label. Output label is enter the first number. Value equal to enter first number. And then I need two more, so I'll copy this section item. So this is for the second number, this is for the third number.
We also need input text, right, ma'am?
Right. We'll add that. So we need out Apex colon input text. And number 3, and then I'm going to add one more, which is a result. But what will be the result instead of for the result? What will be the tag for the instead of input text? What will be the
It will be output text.
output text? Because we are not going to expect any input from customer. Okay. Now here I'll add one command, Apex colon command button, and let's say value equal to calculate. Value equal to calculate. What is the error it is saying that?
Page block section is repeated twice.
Right, so let's go ahead and remove that. So can we add the multiple times page block section? No. Let's say still the error is there. So whenever you get an error, usually it doesn't show here line number, right? So whenever you get an error, try to comment the piece which you are not confident. Okay, let's suppose right now we have added this one from item to this. Now let's comment and save whether it is working or not. Yes, it is working. That means this piece is fine. What are the above pieces there? That is fine. The problem is with the second section. Now let's comment this. Yes, it is working. So let's comment this one also. Yes, it is working. Then Control X. Let's save this. It is working fine. So there is no issue with that. No issue with this. Seems like it is an issue with only the last one. Let's save this. Okay, may have no more than 2 child component. Let's take out this. Control S. Okay, perfectly fine. So I'll add here the button. So this is the result. The result is, and here I'll say instead of input, output text. Let's say perfect. So let's click on the preview. Now, what are the two things are there? One is custom component is there, and first one is standard component. First one is standard component, which is going to show me the details if I add here ID. After the extension, if I add ID, let's go ahead and add the ID. Let's take this role hierarchy, copy, and then after question mark, let's add ID equal to. So what is happening? It is by default, it is displaying the data, right? By default, it is displaying the data. Why it is not showing here input text?
Because it's output field in the VF page.
Because it is output field. Whatever we have given, it is just a display purpose. We are not doing anything. Now, in case if I want a editable one, then we can use, instead of the output, what we can use is, we can use the input field, we can use it. Now we are using the standard save button here. So let's go ahead and refresh. Fine. So if I create anything, June account, phone number, and fax, click on save button. It will create an account. But what are the custom component is there? I do not have anything here. So I have a 3 numbers. If I wanted to find greater number among this, I cannot find. The result will not work because this logic has not been implemented. In this Visualforce page, I have a standard component which is playing a role, as well as there is a customization which I need to implement it. So what is the customization? Finding the greater number among the 3 numbers. Right, it should display as soon as I click on calculate button, it should display the 34. But this is not working. Now what we are doing in the Visualforce page, we are just using the standard controller. We are just using the standard controller, which is the account object. Account object does not do any calculation of this, right? For this, I need to implement some logic, some customization I need to implement it. So let's go ahead and implement a class for the customization CL_1709. What are we doing? Greater 3 numbers. Greater 3 numbers. Now, so this is my UI. So how many variables do I need in the Apex class?
4 variables.
4 variables. Num1, get and set. I need 4 variables here. Num2, num3, and then we have result. Okay. Next, we have a button. On clicking of this button, we wanted to execute some action. Right. So let me implement a method on this. Public void, let's say calculate. So what are we going to identify here?
The greater number among the three.
Greater number we are going to identify. So if num1 is greater than of num2 as well as num3, then get the get the num1 and store it into the result. Else if num2 is greater than of num1 and num2 is greater than of num3. Store the num2 into the result. Else simply let's save it into the, let's say result equal to num3. Done. Our logic is implemented. Now, till now what we have done in order to call this Apex class in the Visualforce page, we used to use controller. When I use the controller, it used to say that you cannot use the controller with the standard controller. But instead of controller, I can use the extension controller. Extension controller equal to the class name. Now, as soon as I say extension equal to controller, what is saying that it is expecting the constructor here, unknown constructor. In case if you are implementing the extension, it is saying that unknown constructor. That means you need to have some constructor which is implemented in the Apex class. What is the constructor parameter? Which constructor do I need to use? Default constructor or parameterized constructor or non-parameterized? Here it is saying that unknown constructor of this class, use this constructor. What is this constructor? Parameterized constructor. And what is the instance variable? It is expecting Apex pages dot standard controller controller. Apex pages dot standard controller and controller. This is the parameter which is expected. So let's copy this. So it is expecting this constructor. Public class name and the constructor. Now let's save this. As soon as I save this, it is accepting here. See, that means whenever we are using the extension, in the Visualforce page and in the extension controller, if I'm calling any class, that class needs to implement with the constructor. That class needs to be implemented with the constructor. And the constructor parameter is Apex pages dot standard controller controller. That means it is going to take the data from pages. It is going to take the data from pages dot. There is a standard controller which already has, and this is the parameter. Okay. Can I give controller always here? No, you can give any name here. See, you can give XYZ, you can give, this is the variable name. But data type should be the same. Data type should be the Apex pages dot standard controller. That is the data type here. So let's go ahead and take C. Right. So right now we have a constructor parameter which we are good. Now let's go ahead and see here. Now this is accepting it. Now what are the data that I entered? I need to capture it. So I have to capture in input text value equal to exclamation num1. Same thing we need it for second number. Same thing we need it for third number. And then we need a result. And what else we need to add?
Calculate method.
Calculate method we need to add. So action equal to calculate method. Now we are good.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and see what is happening. Refresh. Okay. Now I'll enter the numbers here. So let's say save. It is saying that see entire page is the validating. It's not only the validating specific section. It is validating the entire page. Though we enter the information or not, it doesn't matter. Right? It is validating the entire page. But what I'm doing it right now, I'm trying to cross verify only this page. But Visualforce page is whenever it is refreshing or whenever it is trying to reload or whenever it is trying to go to the Apex classes. So some action is happening. Whenever some action is happening, it is going to cross verify entire data in the Visualforce page. So let's go ahead and display the ID equal to, instead of creating, let's display it. Okay, that is fine. Now let's go ahead and display the 34, 21. Let's click on calculate. Now what is happening? 34 is the result which is getting created. 34 is the result which is displaying it, greatest number. Now, for example, what is happening here actually? What is the data that is happening here? So the logic behind this is let's go to the paint. Okay, this is my Visualforce page. I have a database. Okay, inside this database, assume that this is a Salesforce database. This is Salesforce database. Now here I have a Visualforce page, as well as this Visualforce page is calling the Apex class. Visualforce page is calling the Apex class. VF, which is calling the Apex class. Now let's assume that. So right now what is happening? Whenever the standard controller is called, first thing is that it is going to get the information from the database. Whenever the standard controller is called, like we are loading the Visualforce page, on loading of the Visualforce page, what will happen? On loading of the Visualforce page, the first thing, it is going to execute the standard controller. The first thing it is going to execute the standard controller. So what will happen? It is go and get me the information from the database. So as soon as it loads, what it will do, it will go to the database. from the database, it is going to get me the information. This is the first step. Okay. And then it is going to have a request to the database. As soon as I'm loading the Visualforce page, this is the one request which will go to the database. One request, it will go to the database. From the database, what are the object that we are calling using the standard controller? What are the object we are calling using the standard controller? It will get the information and give it to the Visualforce page. That is the first execution. That is the first execution. Now, once it is loaded, then what it will do? It will check if there is an extension controller. It will go and check if there is any extension controller in the class. If there is any extension controller in the class. So Visualforce page is going to call the class. If there is an extension controller, then it will check. First thing is that whether that page has or whether that class has okay, this is the request that will go to the extension controller. Request goes to the extension controller. Inside this class, inside this extension class, the first validation which will happen, whether the class has a constructor or not, whether the class has parameterized constructor, whether this class has a parameterized constructor or not. Okay, it has a parameterized constructor. Otherwise, it will not allow us to save the Visualforce page. So it will go and check. Okay, this has a parameter constructor. Okay, what is the information? Then it will. First thing is that it has to load the Visualforce page. So it will load the Visualforce page. After loading the Visualforce page, then user is entering some data here. Whenever the user enters, immediately it will go to the that particular variable inside the extension controller. It will take all the values of this, and whenever we click on the result, it try to execute that particular class method. It will try to execute that particular class method. And then it will display the output. Now this is what is happening. Assume that here I have a account name, phone number, fax, and save. Right? But whenever I click on a save button, what should happen is, first of all, it has to validate everything. Assume that it has to validate. Now what we are doing here, standard save button, we are doing it. Standard save button, we are doing it. On phone validation, we do not have any validation. We wanted to validate the phone. Right? So on clicking on normal save button, this is a standard save button. On clicking on this save button, it is not going to verify whether the phone number is there or not, or fax is there or not, or some other pick list value is there or not. It is not going to verify it because that is not a standard validation on the account. We have not added the validation on the account. So the customer says that we do not want any validation on the account level because we do not want to restrict everybody whenever they are creating the account. I want only the form which is showing the fields, only that form should have a validation. Only that form should have the validation. Validation of cross verifying the phone number. Validation of cross verifying the phone number or validation of email. Only this form should have. Apart from this form, I do not want any users to restrict adding the account without phone number. So we do not want to restrict that. Whoever is filling the form, they should have a validation. So this is the requirement which came from the client. So what we have to do, we have to take out this save button. Okay, these fields are fine. These fields I can show it from the standard using the standard controller. Right? What is this? This is I can show these fields, all the fields I can show using the standard controller. I need not to implement anything for this. Using the standard controller, I can show these fields, but what they are doing it on the save button, they wanted to customize it. On the save button, they wanted to customize it. So whenever on the save button, if you wanted to customize, then we have to call a method inside a method I have to call. So class, inside the class, we have to create a new method. Okay, for the new method one, we have to implement a validation to cross verify whether the phone is valid or not. So in those scenario, I'll implement another method. I'll write the logic to validate the phone number which was entered or blank, or is it correct or not, 10 digit is there or not, everything we are going to cross verify. If everything is fine, then as soon as I click on save, it executes the logic in the method one. And if everything is fine, it is go and save the data into the database, right? So what will happen here? This is the customization we are doing it. Whenever we do the customization, it has to send the result back to the Visualforce page. It has to send the values to the Visualforce page because I'm calling the customization here. If it would have been save button is standard button, it would have went to the database directly. If save button is standard, I do not have anything. In that scenario, I'm not using any customization on the save button. So as soon as I click on save button, it will directly go to the database and it will save the data here. No validation, nothing. What are the standard validations are there? Only the standard validation gets executed. And apart from that, we are just using the standard functionality on the save button. So as soon as I click on the save button, it will directly go and sit into the database. But if I'm going to customize it, If I'm going to customize it, what will happen? This save button, first it has to call the VF. From the VF, it is going to call the Apex class. In the Apex class, it is going to execute the method. As soon as the method says that everything is perfectly fine, there is no issue with that. Then what it will do, it will go and insert the information into the database. If something goes wrong here, it did not work. So what will happen? It will return back to the page. Saying that there is some error. It will not go to this database. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's how the logic gets executed. In case if I want to save customization, I have to implement another custom button saying that maybe custom save button. And then we can go with customization. What are the customization we want? So what is the constructor here? In another way, what we can say is it is an Apex programming or Apex program.
Ma'am, is there any way to just load the page for the second section alone? When we click on calculate, it's loading the entire page. So is it possible to restrict that to only the second section?
Yes, it is possible. So what we have to give is there is a render option is available. We have something called render. Okay, rendered. So if rendered is going to be the false, then only it is going to load the specific section. Okay, I'm going to cover this probably on next class. Render functionality. So using the rendered, what we can do is we can load a specific. Like for example, I have a based on the value. Okay, based on the value, I wanted to render a specific field or specific section. Then I can use that render equal to whatever the section. If I'm using the render here, we have to give ID here. I need to specify which section I wanted to reload. So for example, I'm giving a name to this one. Calculate, I'm giving a name. So let's say this is a cal. This is the name of this section. ID equal to this cal means name of this section. So based on a certain value, I wanted to refresh this complete section. So what I can do is rendered equal to, I can give whatever the name of the section. I can give the name of the section. So what will happen? It is based on the field value. It is going to render the specific, which is possible.
Okay. Okay.
But right now, nobody is using that, but we'll cover that, okay? Because everybody is focusing on the lightning part,
Okay.
which has a constructor. So extension is nothing but it is an Apex program which has a constructor. Also, we can say that this is the definition for the extension. You can say extension is a controllers are an Apex classes containing the constructor to extend the standard controller functionality. Or you can say that it is the Apex program which has the constructor. Whatever the way it is comfortable for you. Now, for example, if I wanted to implement a custom save button, okay. Now I wanted to implement custom save button. Let's go ahead and implement the custom save button. Apex colon command button. Okay, so value equal to, let's say custom save. Okay. We need to implement a method here. Public void, and then I'll say my custom save button. This is my custom save. So I'll say that insert. Okay. Now, what do I need to insert? Basically, this save button is implemented on account. Whenever we are creating the account, which is called, okay. So whenever we are clicking on the save button, then we wanted to store the account. But where is my account data is stored here? Do I have my account data anywhere here?
No.
Account data is not there. Now, how do I need to store the account data here?
So we have to initialize the account.
Initialize the account. Where you will initialize the account?
Inside the custom save.
Inside the custom save. But the data.
No. Inside the constructor.
Inside the constructor. How you are going to define it?
Account ACC equal to new account.
Account ACC equal to new account. Okay, so this is what you are saying.
Yeah.
Insert ACC. Let's save this. ACC variable is not declared. What do I need to do?
So should we declare account ACC outside the constructor and then initialize it inside the constructor, then call the variable in the custom save?
Okay. How you are going to install it?
Account public account ACC get set
Okay. Why it is not showing this error?
Maybe because of the render function which we have.
So let's add here action. Let's give some data here. Let's give June 1 and click on custom save. What is happening?
We should give acc.name in the Visualforce page.
This ACC?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's save this. Custom save. What happened? Did it save? It saved.
Yeah.
That is the one way you can do it, right? This is the simple as we know, everybody knows that how to use that, right? Now, for example, here I have a parameter. What is the purpose of this parameter? What is the purpose of this parameter? Now, this is the standard way which we all know, okay? Instead of this, what I'll do is I'll get the data from Visualforce page, okay? I get the data from Visualforce page. Let me take out this. Let's save this. Okay. Now, whatever the data is coming from the Visualforce page, I'll take this, okay, and then ACC equal to what I'll do is I'll store it into this. What are the C value is there? That is C value is which is coming from the Visualforce page. I'm getting it from the Visualforce page. C dot get records. C dot get records. Let's save the Visualforce page. So what I'm doing is I'm not initializing here. I'm not initializing anything here. Basically, while initialization, what am I doing it? I'm getting the data from Visualforce page. I don't know what data. There is some data coming from Visualforce page. And I'm converting that data into the account. There is some JSON format structure is coming from the Visualforce page. Okay. I'm converting that particular data into the account. And I'm getting the records of that. Right. Let's save this. Let's go to the refresh. And let's say June 2. Let's see what will happen. Click on custom save. So it is going to, what will happen? It will save or not. June 2 is also saved. Right? I did not change anything on the Visualforce page level. I did not give the reference of this. I did not give the reference of this. If I give the reference of this, what will happen here? acc.name, acc.phone, acc.fax. Then why do I need a standard controller? I can take out the standard controller. There is no point of using the standard controller. But what is my requirement here is I can use the standard, I can use this fields as a standard controller. I can use this field structure. What are the fields are there? This I can get it from standard controller. I need not to implement a custom controller to display the fields and fields here on the page. I can get it from the standard controller, right? So that's what I'm doing it, right? But if in case if I give acc.name and acc.phone number, acc.fax, if I give this, what will happen? Everything is controlled by this class. Then I do not need a standard controller at all. I do not need a standard controller because I'm not using the account anywhere, right? So what I want is this field section, I wanted to display it via standard controller, but custom button, whatever the button is there, that functionality has to be customized. So that's what we are doing it here. How I'm doing it? By getting the record from the page, Apex page. Apex page, I'm getting some data, and from that data, I'm going to capture only the record. There are two things which I can capture from the data. One is get ID and get records. One is get ID and get records. There is other things also which we will do it, but usually in the constructor, that means whenever we are loading it, either I need an ID of that person or I need a complete data. Or if I wanted to view the complete information, I can view it. Or else, if I do not know which object it is, then I can use the standard controller. Right? This information which is used here. This is predefined which Salesforce is giving it. Right? So how, if I say C, where it is going to go? It is going to go for the Apex pages.standard controller. What is this Apex pages.standard controller? This is a data type. As soon as I hit dot, so what it is going to go? First, it will go to the Apex pages. Apex pages is assume that is a one class. Inside that class, we have some method which is called as a standard controller. Inside that standard controller, we have these methods. Get record, get ID, view, standard controller. These all are methods which are going to get it from this data type.
Ma'am, what happens if we just give c.get record? Because the C is for standard controller, right? So we have already mentioned the account is a standard controller in the VF page. So then what is the point in mentioning it again here?
So when you have mentioned the standard controller in the VF page, okay, this is the VF page. How will your class know that whether the VF page is using the standard controller or not? How does it know? In the VF page, we are calling the standard controller as well as the custom controller. Whenever you go the extension custom controller, fine, the extra custom controller gets executed the data. That is totally fine. But how your class will know, who will tell to your class, VF is using also the standard controller? Who will tell? There is somebody has to tell the class, VF is along with this call, along with this class, they are also using the standard controller. Somebody has to tell the class. Otherwise, how we will know that class? Okay, there is also a, if you do not say to class, okay, in case if you are not saying anything, whether the VF page is using the standard controller or not, you are not going to say anything to the class. When you do not say to the class, what will happen? It doesn't matter whether you are using the standard controller or not, it doesn't matter. Your complete, the coding goes wrong. You say that standard controller equal to account and extension equal to this class name, but entire logic is handled by the class. This standard controller is not playing any role here. In case if the standard controller is playing a role inside the Visualforce page, and if you wanted to inform a class, okay, there is a something inside the Visualforce page which is handled by the standard controller. Get those records from the Visualforce pages. On top of it, make a changes to the record. Right now, what we are doing is we are taking the record that is entered in the Visualforce page. And on top of it, we are doing it. For example, I wanted to validate whether the account ID is null or not, or account phone number is null or not. I wanted to cross verify those information. Okay, if I wanted to do the phone validation, in case if I wanted to do the phone validation, what will happen? I need to get who is from where the phone is coming on. Here the phone is displaying from the account. Standard object data, standard object record, account dot phone it is taking up. But here, if you are going to validate it, okay, how you are going to validate? Here we are creating the new record. If you say account equal to ACC equal to new account, that means what is happening here? Here the record size, whenever standard controller is there, it is directly getting the data from database, and whenever you are doing the save on the phone number, there is an empty memory location, it is going to cross verify it.
Okay, so like in the class, like we have mentioned the parameter as apex pages dot standard controller. So, and we have given a name for that, which is C, right?
Yeah.
So we can just give ACC equal to C dot get record. So because the C means like it is for the standard controller, right? So it goes to the VF page. Okay.
C. Okay. System.debug account C. System.debug. View. Fine. Let's go ahead and see. Instead of this, what we can do is, let's give it here. Let's say ACC. ACC1. ACC1. Let's save this. Now let's go to the Visualforce page. Refresh. Let's give some information here. Let's click on custom save button. Okay, let's look at the logs. This is my recent log. Click on debug. It's not there. Click on debug. What is the C is giving me?
It's giving the standard controller of account.
Okay. Standard controller of account. So can I get directly the information up here? Does it say that this is the account object, or does it say that it is a different?
Oh, no. Yeah. It doesn't say it is an account.
So this is generic way it is getting the information. Now what I have to do? For example, if I have an integer A equal to 10. Now I have a string. Okay. B. Now if I wanted to convert integer to string, what do I need to do?
Value of, use value of.
Value of?
Yeah. Value of integer.
Value of integer or value of B, or what I need to do exactly?
So value of, so that is converted to string.
Sorry?
Value of A.
Value of A. How do I convert the string to integer to string? Anybody else? How do I convert string to the integer? If I wanted to convert any value, even for another languages also we use. How do I convert? If I have an integer, okay, integer is 10, then I wanted to store that into the string.
String b equal to a.
String b equal to a.
Then a's value can store in b.
What is a illegal assignment from integer to string? We are not directly, we cannot save the two different data types together. Okay, so what we have to do is, in case if I wanted to convert integer data type to string or any data type to any other data type, whenever we wanted to convert, if this is an integer, for example, right now we are taking the example of integer a equal to 10 and I have a string b. Now I wanted to convert this integer value to the string. So whatever the data type that I wanted to convert, take that data type and use here dot value of a. Value of a. String dot value of a. So what will happen? It will get converted. So whichever the one, if you wanted to convert, you have to put it here. So what we are doing it here, C is in a different data type. C is in different data type. Which data type am I expecting the data? I'm expecting the data in terms of account. Account is my data type. Account is my data type. I cannot get it from the Apex pages.send controller. So what I'm doing it, I'm converting the whatever the data that is there, I'm converting that into the account first. Then from that, I'm getting the information.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah.
Right. So which is also, so this is similar like a data type. Even for the collection, when we have a collection, list, set, we have these kind of collections, right? In case if you have a list data and if you wanted to convert a set, then we have to convert it using the set. So I think you guys can do it. In case if you are not able to do that, converting the collections, just let me know, because it is similar fashion of, because you need to understand in the real time, how do we convert that? Okay, we mostly use the getting the map of set data into the list or map of keys into the set. We are going to put that information, everything. So converting is, which is a day-to-day activity for the developer, I can say, because whenever we are dealing with any data in real time, we should know that what kind of a data type is that data and what is the input of, if I have a data, what is the input of the data, what is the output is expected from the functionality. If anywhere, if you feel that, okay, if you feel anywhere, for example, you have some data here, okay, ABC data is there here. Now ABC data, what is the data type for this? For now it is assumed that integer. For now it is an integer. But tomorrow, okay, tomorrow means maybe in the functionality, we are implementing some functionality here. right? Some functionality we are implementing, but I need to, in order to implement this functionality has some parameters which is expected. Okay, it is expecting the string. It is expecting the string parameter. Now, but I need to pass the information of this ABC to this method. If I wanted to pass this data to this method, I cannot pass the integer. But because the expectation is the parameter this method has is string. Now what I have to do, I have to convert this into the string first. I need to convert into the string first, then I can pass the information to method. Same thing. For example, method is expecting the set of IDs. Okay, but you have here list. You have here list. The data you have here is list, but it is expecting the set param. Now you cannot pass the list to this method because it is expecting the set collection. Now what you have to do, you have to convert this into the set and then pass this data to this method. Because this method is called by many people. This method is called by many people. Everybody is passing the set. Everybody is passing the set, but you have some requirement, different requirement where the data is stored in list. Okay, but you need this logic. You need this logic in order to execute the functionality. There is already existing logic is there. You wanted to use it. So when you wanted to use it, only the problem is what are the parameter that is expected by this method is a set, but you have a output as a list. So you need to first convert into the set and then call this method. So converting is very important in the real time. Converting is very important. Okay. So I'll give one assignment which is related to this one. Okay. So now this one, we are converting and getting the data here, which is also called as casting. Which is also called as casting. Fine. For example, here what we are doing it, we are just inserting an account. But if I wanted to verify, like for example, I have a phone number. I have a phone number. Now I wanted to verify the phone number. If the phone number is not updated, if the phone number is not updated, then I do not want to execute it. If phone number is not there, then I do not want to execute the logic. So that we will see tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
And also what we can do is whenever there is right now what is happening when I click on save button, it says that here the error there is an error message which is coming up, but I want the same message to be happen on the phone level. Phone level, it needs to be happen. So phone level which needs to be happen and the fax level also which needs to be happen. So that part we will do it tomorrow. Now back to this assignment. Implement a class implement a Visualforce page. Implement a Visualforce page for calculating the student marks. Calculating the student marks. For example, we have Visualforce page. Okay. So student name displayed here, which is the account name. Display the student name. Okay. And then this is the marks details. English, Hindi, social, chemistry, total. Okay. Now this is the input is expected by the user. So enter this information and here it is the one save button. As soon as we click on a save button, it should display the result here, the total of this. Result it should display. It should display the result here. Total result should be displayed here. Right? And also inside the same Visualforce page, list of contacts. List of contacts. We should show the list of contacts here related to this account. So this is not the input. Account name is not the input. This is output label. Okay. So whenever we are loading the Visualforce page, it should display this marks one, and then below it should display the list of contacts. List of contact it should display related to this particular account. Fine. So this is the requirement. Calculating the student marks as well as display the related contacts of the account. Related contacts of the accounts. Interview question. What is extension controller? What is the difference between standard controller and custom controller, or you can say extension controller? What is the difference between custom controller, and the standard controller. Custom controller and the extension controller. And developer implements extension controller, then which type of constructor is used? Used in Apex class. Which type of constructor used in Apex class? Give the example. How to convert integer data type to string. How to convert date time. This is date time is very useful for the real time. How to convert date time data type to the date. How to convert list to set. Fine, these are the one. Okay. Let's move on to the admin.